Hybrid Heart Academia Ataraxia is an anime I wanted to review for quite a while now. Rarely have I seen such a bold and ambitious premise brought to the screen. Although the show relies heavily on archetypes and anime cliché, it is the way it is executed that really makes it stand out, even among other titles from the harem genre. Hybrid Heart is also part of the dying mecha genre, which made the story even more standard and predictable. At the beginning I felt like I was watching a different version of Infinite Stratos. These two titles are sort of similar in some prominent aspects. For example, the main character is just as clueless and frustrating as Ichika, and he also has a voluptuous older sister who is in charge of the academy the protagonist is attending. Yeah, these are visible similarities, but Hybrid Heart takes things to the next level. While most harem dudes are afraid to touch or even interact with the girls, here, Kizuna Hide is more than willing to get his hands dirty, if you know what I mean. Wow, I mean, whoa. Wow! This dude grabs tits like there's no tomorrow. And not only that, but he touches as much female skin as possible, and he does it to save the world, by the way. That's right, folks. His heroic actions of molesting teenage girls with huge boobs is exactly what keeps humanity alive in these darker times.
すでに入学とともにアマテラスへの入隊が決定している。これが勝利の鍵だ。
Apparently the whole world is in shambles, and only some floating islands can still have a happy life as we used to know it. Whatever. The standard post-apocalyptic setup for mecha anime, I guess. Now let's get back to the boobs. These girls have huge breasts. I wonder they can run with those melons attached to their chests, but it's definitely a beautiful sight to behold. The story ain't that pretty, sadly, as the show barely has any, and what's there is for the most part an uncohesive mess that in the end works against the anime. As specified before, Earth is like invaders from another dimension, who travel for portals, and humanity's only defense are girls with big asses and bouncy titties. Eventually, most countries have been devastated by war, and in these dire conditions, mankind is forced to retreat from land and develop giant floating structures, called mega floats, kinda like the mega blocks from Judge Dredd, but with less blood and more nudity. A weapon called Hybrid Heart developed, which is the only effective offensive against the invaders. A core is implanted within a person, usually women, which allows them to summon an armor and go all out, mecha style. Since this is a harem, the main character seems to be the only guy around with such capabilities. Once his older sister calls him to transfer to a strategic defense school, the real story begins. And by story, I mean forced and awkward interactions between him and his harem. They almost always end up with some good old-fashioned fanservice. Thankfully, one of the biggest positives of the show is that most ecchi moments are done right. The anime ain't pulling any punches and goes full hardcore with nudity and groping. Just make sure you're wearing headphones when you watch any episode, as these fake hotties scream like hell whenever touched by the main character. And how he touches them. Kizuna Hide does not shy away from completely dominating these girls. It is for the greater good, after all. Survival of the human race depends on him getting busy with some bosoms. And he does not want to let us down. You see, while Kizuna's fighting ability doesn't measure up compared with the other students, he has a unique ability, which makes him crucial for the success of the upcoming missions. Performing rotten activities with the main character will allow girls to replenish their energy and increase their hybrid count. Naturally, this ability is a gift, both for humankind and for the protagonist. The authorities in charge of Ataraxia Defense Academy are encouraging all girls to take advantage of this situation and perform indecent activities with Kizuna. As it is all for science and research purposes, the main character has no other option but to comply to these harsh demands and offer his services to all the girls in need of his touch.
それに絶対にみんなを死なせはしない。エロだとなんだと言われようと。
We've got a variety of waifus to choose from as well, and I'm not referring only to their feminine shapes, but I'm also taking into account their distinct and colorful personalities. As I said before, most characters rely heavily on anime archetypes, which I guess is fine, as long as they are done in a fun and appropriate way. Here, however, while the girls are hot and entertaining, they are superficially developed for simple cat arcs, which end abruptly without capturing any emotional investment from the audience. It may sound like I'm a bit harsh on the show, but believe me, the story is average at best. At the beginning it was sorta interesting and can engage you. However, in the later episode it became a big, uncohesive mess. I hate it when anime does this, having a decent start to a series only to lose focus and bore the hell out of me with a plot that makes no sense, or have me stare at some forced filler episodes. Unfortunately, the story is the worst aspect of Hybrid Heart, considering that even now, as I finish the show, I cannot really explain any event or character motivation after episode 8. Anyway, let's talk a bit about the main character, since men have a low capability with the Hybrid Heart gear. He's not that much of a fighter, and is mostly a supporter, or more or less a buffer for the girls around him. His primary function is to hybrid heart with the female Amaterasu to restore the power and achieve climax hybrid so they can access their immoral weapon. Man, does this sound amazing or not? Too bad the show does not properly build on this awesome premise. If only they would have had a better and more intriguing story, this concept would have been a perfect setup for a successful harem anime. I mean, sure, the ecchi moments are explicit and hot, but you gotta add some character development, an actual plot to make me care for this title after its first episodes. Well, at least there is some comedy spread thin throughout the series. It does help in making characters more likable and compelling, but in they are frequent to make a real difference in its entertaining part. I like the name of Kizuna's heart hybrid though. The name Eros does not help his case at all when he's trying to explain that his perverted actions were purely professional. This brings me to the main three ladies. Our protagonist is gonna inappropriately touch for a few hours. First one on the list is his first victim, namely Aine Chidoriga Fuchi. She's an arrogant girl that at first views the main character as inferior and is reluctant to even interact with him. Perfect girl to tease. I just love it when they have an attitude. Their frustration is so much sweeter when they are proven weak and hopeless. Anna does not communicate that much with anyone, being primarily focused on getting stronger and find out the truth behind her past. She's the typical warrior, focused on her combat abilities and identity rather than her social life. Anna is the first girl Kizuna gets to fondle, and she does have one fine looking body. When it comes to the girls, this anime has quality on its side. Talking about voluptuous women, it's a perfect time to also mention Yurishia Farandole. She should have been the stuck-up princess archetype, but since Aine has taken some of these character traits, Yurishia is just a fun girl who is popular with the other students. She was once the ace of the American Hybrid Heart team, and now she joins Kizuna entourage. She's a beautiful young woman with blonde, long hair, blue eyes, and the largest bust, the biggest titties around. Well, the biggest that we get to examine, because sadly, the main character's sister does not show her naked body for me to be able to evaluate. As of now, I'd say USA has the biggest guns around. My favorite member of the team, Amaterasu, is Hayoru Himekawa. She has the best body proportions. Tight, slender body with big boobs, and a cute face to go with it. She has long black hair with red ribbons that keep her hair in twin tails, and also possesses the best combat armor of them all. When she activated her heart hybrid gear, it looked like she's wearing a maid outfit, combined with a nurse uniform. I love it. It makes her look so innocent and submissive. Himekawa is also a member of the morals committee, therefore she has a very harsh and strict personality.
待ちなさい。そんなハレンチなもの見逃せません。
I like how insecure and embarrassed she gets around Kizuna. Himekawa is prudish and easily flustered whenever sexy time is involved.
私ったらなんで牛なのな。
I say she's a tsundere, as her strict and demanding personality reminds me of Kotegao from the To Love Ru series.
戦闘の最中に一体何をしていたのですか。信じられません。
There's also Reiri Hida, Kizuna's older sister. We unfortunately don't get to see naked. Such a shame. She should have done the hybrid climax with the main kata. Just saying. I give hybrid X Heart My Guess Academy Ataraxia an appropriate 6.9 out of 10. If only the anime focused more on properly developing its katas rather than forcing an uninteresting story, this show could have scored a lot higher.
本当に3人でするなんて不潔です。